And we are back. Another episode of the Post Republic. It is August 27th, 2025. I'm Adrian here with my co-hosts Tyler, Silas, and Steve. Tyler's got the rundown of everything that's going on.
Oh man, we got a mass shooting in Minnesota by an alleged transgender individual at a Catholic elementary school. At least two fatally wounded, 17 injured. Tra- uh, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are officially engaged. Young girl arrested in UK for brandishing a knife and hatchet to fend off foreigners trying to sexually assault her and her sister. Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe has released a shocking report exposing child sexual exploitation in 85 British regions. Cracker Barrel sparks huge bipartisan backlash due to their recent rebrand. We have Raja Jackson, son of Rampage Jackson, almost kills a professional wrestler at an event. Lil Nas X is back. He was found wandering the streets of LA in a drug induced mania. He is now being charged with multiple felonies. Trump signs an executive order outlawing burning the American flag. Trump says he wants to let in 600,000 Chinese students. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been brought back to the United States and is already in the process of being deported to Uganda. And then we also have Federal Reserve Governor fired by the Trump administration citing mortgage fraud. So it's been a wild week. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. You know, all things considered, the state of the world just chugs along. But I was just getting caught up. I'd been at work all day, and I saw that mass shooting. I don't know if you guys have any other information. It's a trans identified person, right?
It
Yep.
seemed like that. I saw the video of the guy, the alleged shooter, and he was what maniacally walking around and like going through his arsenal and like his kit, basically, his tactical kit he was going to use, just like all kinds of absolutely insane. It was almost like watching the Joker, like Heath Ledger
hmm
preparing to play the Joker or something. But I'm not sure if the guy actually was a they them transgender. I think we're still waiting for that information. But
There's
I'll check.
there is evidence of a court um, document that is their name change from Robert, I believe, to Robin.
Mm.
So pretty sure they transitioned 2020, I believe.
And I saw some information that their mother had worked at that school in 2021, so there's a
Mm.
connection there.
Mm.
Yeah, you know it's interesting. I saw on the timeline that there was an account, Patriot Takes, but it's clearly a left wing account because they were showing all of the things they wrote on the gun that were pro Trump, but they didn't fill in any of the other details, which is interesting. Because then there's just a bunch of people like, "Oh, you're just lying," because people were like, "Oh, they are trans." They said
Hmm.
kill Donald Trump. Just goes to show you the alternate reality that people get stuck in. Like, "Oh, that's just fake news.
Hmm.
He he wasn't trans, or she wasn't, or whatever they are wasn't trans." I think. Um,
Well, the thing that tripped me out about the video going through all the because he like picks up all of his different like magazines and stuff like that, and it says different stuff on it like "Where's your God" or whatever, and one of them was like "Kill Trump now" or whatever. But there was a bunch of different like phrases and sayings and slogans that were kind of like across the political spectrum. And so it was so perfect for everybody on social media, on X or wherever, to just take a little screenshot of where it says 6 million is not enough, and then they use that and then run with that about, oh yeah, he was a right-wing Nazi fascist actually. And it's like, wait, hold on. So the way that everybody's politicizing it is actually kind of disgusting.
yeah, you know, I think this person was clearly mentally ill. That goes without saying, but so they're all over the place with their messaging. You know, that could be part of their game to just oh, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff that's pro Trump, but negative, like against Trump. I'm trans, but I'm a Republican. Just like the Butler thing, like I'm a big Republican and I want to shoot Trump. He was a Republican, guys, so it was one of your own, and let's never talk about him again.
There are some similarities here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there have been several trans mass shooters recently, and it's become, kind of a trend that you can't overlook. And I wonder how much of the hormones and the testosterone. I granted this person was probably on estrogen, but how much that if you're already mentally unstable and you throw hormones into the mix, that needs to be studied. But then again, they haven't studied SSRIs with mass shooters, so I don't think we're going to get that research.
Yeah, I was gonna say look into their therapist if they have one. That's always seems to be like some side player in these shooters.
Yeah, like what's his name, Jolly and West, who was all over the place with Jack Ruby, the MK Ultra guy. But I mean, these people would be prime targets also for an MK Ultra type of operation if just throwing that out there. We don't know any of the details, but it's all possibilities to consider. It's not just, we don't know the details yet, but it's kind of disturbing to notice this trend that we're not supposed to talk about.
So I don't know if you guys saw it, but earlier today, or yesterday, I was reading an article about a teenager that was coached by ChatGPT while he was in the process of getting ready to ride the sewer slide, helped him tie the knot on the noose. That could also be a factor. AI has an effect on weak minds. And there was that case with Gemini last year where it told the kid he was worthless, and he was in. It really went all in on it. So I mean, there's a lot of. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great point to think about how chatbots could be weaponized to create these types of, mass shooters or patsies or anything. All you have to do is just hack into this and start subtly grooming this person, and it's great for intelligence or whoever because it's plausible deniability. Like, oh, the AI just went off the rails and told this guy to kill these people.
Oh dang! I think we're uncovering a whole new conspiracy angle here. I love it. But people are very hackable. People are very brainwashable. People are very programmable. Surprisingly, it's dangerous. So when you tell them and you affirm their delusions, I mean, they're only going to get rabbit hole down further into their delusions.
Yeah, and we have to understand AI has access to the MK Ultra information, like whether it just be online or they're backfed with that type of intel and knowledge of how to program a brain of any human, really. And South Park just did an episode of how it always is reaffirming the person's request or idea or whatever it is, and so it's doing pretty much what MK Ultra, meaning the final version of a program that would train our brains a certain way. I think that is part of AI's rollout and intention behind the scenes.
And AI is thinking on its own. It's having its own intentions, and honestly, they could scrub it. We would never know. There'd be no way to know.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw some of the videos that the alleged shooter posted on YouTube. He was posting all kinds of stuff on YouTube, pretty much saying that he wanted to carry out this type of an act. And YouTube, it's like you can't say the T word. Meanwhile, you got T's on there literally planning a mass murder event.
Yeah, and they take down like side videos and stuff after the fact. There's, I guess, one of them reading a dryer manual for like 10 minutes or something weird. So it's like evidence that they were kind of delirious and going down a weird path in general, and they remove it after the fact.
What a red flag. If somebody's reading a dryer owner's manual from front to back, every word, I think I think we got problems. And I was curious to see what you guys think about red flag laws, because there's a lot of people who are very 2A absolutist type guys, which I'm very pro 2A. But at the same time, is there such thing as like a version of a red flag law that could, I mean, should insane people be able to acquire military grade weapons?
What's insane? Because
It's a slippery slope.
because it starts out with this particular shooter today was not known to law enforcement, but if you go back and you start looking, every single one of them was.
Mm.
But what kind of, I mean, would you prefer to take away the weapons that they have and not catch the ones that they do, or maybe an ankle bracelet or some kind of monitoring to know where they are?
Yeah.
Something like that. But then you're getting into a dystopian surveillance state kind of situation, which is also terrifying. It's like Vietnam, no way to win.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Is there a balance there? I think a lot of the conservatives and pro 2A crowd will say, hey, it's that's just the risk that we take, and the fact that we're preserving liberty is going to take precedent of a moral hierarchy of the occasional psychopath getting their hands on the weapons.
But so, like, what I'm saying is sure, you take away the guns they have. It's not like they can't get more. It's not like they can't steal them. So I would say
that's true.
It's kind of like you can sign someone in for mental health treatment. It's very hard to identify, because then you get people who false flag people to get their guns taken away, to get them charged, jam them up. I mean, I come down on the side of I'd rather have more people armed than less.
Yeah. But then it comes down to it, like, while I do agree with you, but we're going to have a certain amount of this type of activity that happens, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a moral conundrum when it comes to that.
Are you saying that we should just not allow trans people to have guns, Tyler?
Yes. But, like Steve said, what is insane, really? Okay, let's really get down to it. And who's going to be the arbiter of who decides of like who's insane or who's sane?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
actually, Alex Stein had a really good solution to this conundrum that we're discussing. And he actually, I think he testified in the Texas legislature about it. Kind of got some heat, but he reshared it today because it was relevant, and he has some interesting ideas.
I actually like transgenders in the military.
Am I sharing? Okay.
Military too, because first of all, transgenders are some of the meanest people on planet Earth, so they'd make a good soldier, don't you think? And then, second of all, transgenders love to do mass shootings. So, that's perfect for a military veteran. And then on top of that, the suicide rate is incredibly high among transgender people. So we could just use them like the Taliban has suicide bombers. Maybe you guys can actually, if you commit suicide, actually help us in the battlefield. So that would be good. So I think we need transgenders in the military and women's sports. Now, when we...
Doing the Lord's work over here.
That guy does not stop.
And maybe he should. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, he's funny. Well, but the red flag laws, I know Trump was supportive of a few red flag laws, and a lot of the constitutional conservatives were a little pissed off about that.
Yeah, I think I lean towards no or less red flag laws as possible, because it is just like every angle they can take an inch every few years, and 50 years down the line, it's a whole different story.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
in theory, I could see the argument for them. Situations like this, that's the argument that's going to be made. But if you give the government the power to do that, and you're in a state like Colorado or California or New York or wherever, you give that power to people that may just want to target you for one particular reason. I don't know if we've seen cases like that, but it wouldn't surprise me. And yeah, it is a slippery slope to other things. So I tend to also side against red flag laws for that reason.
Yeah, and I think the libertarian argument about unintended consequences is a very valid form of argument of saying, hey, look, yeah, you want to pass a law or you want to use the authority to cut down on this specific type of crime, but at the same time, the unintended consequence is going to be, I don't know, a crazy ex-girlfriend is going to make a report, file a totally false report with the police, and then all of a sudden your constitutional right to defend yourself is literally just out the window just because some crazy broad made up some garbage story about you being crazy or something, or threatening her or whatever.
Well, I've got an idea. It could be a compromise of sorts. The people that like gun control, and there's people that are very much, Second Amendment. How about, since the availability of guns is a huge reason why we have so many gun deaths in this country, I think it would be noble and the right thing to do is we ban all registered Democrats from owning firearms, because in their eyes, guns are the problem. And so they can eliminate a good percentage of guns from the marketplace, and that they'll feel good about it. It's not just our thoughts and prayers. We've done the work and we're giving it up. Wouldn't that make sense? Why wouldn't they do that?
They would set a great example for the right. That is a good idea, I think, actually.
Just troll them on it. Yeah, I think we should advocate for this.
But none of them have weapons. I mean, I guess there's probably a select few of registered Democrats that do have some rifles for hunting, but it seems to me that almost all the people that are armed, like actually armed and know what they're doing with their guns, are all conservatives. I know there is a minority of leftists out there that are pro gun, but I don't know. It's maybe
So
that's probably the real reason, is because they're actually outgunned, and so they want to use the federal government to disarm their enemies.
I would say the right is just louder about the amount of guns they carry. A lot of the
Okay.
inner city folks that have the illegal firearms, I don't think too many of them were throwing down their ballot for Donald Trump. I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of illegal firearms, and there's a lot of people who don't talk about the fact they have them. These rich folks, now you guys know that like 82% of the wealth in America voted for Harris, and 18% went to Trump, because they love to say, oh, he had all these billionaires. He had like 3 billionaires.
Yeah.
and it was all blue collar people. All of those people have guns. Don't kid yourself. They either have guns they can fire, or they pay people to have guns in their stead. They just want to take them away from the poor.
Yeah, I work in very wealthy neighborhoods, and I can confirm that most of those people are Democrat. Meanwhile, the guys that work on their houses, building it and maintaining it, are not. And that doesn't make sense according to the narrative, does it? But
Well, that's typically how it goes. Do you guys remember during the George Florida riots, there was those the two people, I want to say it was in Missouri, the man and the woman. They were registered Democrats, if you're not aware.
I was
They were
not aware of that.
They were holding assault rifles
Yeah.
as the protests went by. They were all for it. Just don't come to my house.
Was it like the
Yeah.
Klopfers or Knopfler?
I cannot remember their name.
Kamala Harris admitted to having a Glock.
Oh yeah.
Totally true, by the way. Gotta be true.
Montel Jordan dropped it in her car.
I have an AR Glock. I can't do Kamala.
Well, I don't think anyone can. Gross.
I think, ooh, not even her husband. All right.
Her voice would make a train take a dirt road. I can't stand her.
Mark and Patricia McCloskey. St. Louis, Missouri. They gained national attention after videos and photos showed them pointing firearms, a semi-automatic rifle, and handgun at Black Lives Matter protesters marching past their home on a private street. Portland Place is the street name.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're not Democrats anymore.
Yeah.
I had to.
They were charged with unlawful use of a weapon, a felony, but later pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges in 2021. Mark for fourth-degree assault and Patricia for harassment. There's these plea deals coming in again.
Fourth-degree assault.
Fourth-degree assault.
Made me feel uncomfortable when I was trying to rob him.
They paid fines of $750 and $2,000 respectively, and surrendered their weapons. Missouri Governor Mike Parsons pardoned them in August 2021, so that's good. And their criminal records were expunged in 2024. The incident sparked debate over gun rights, property defense, and protest rights, with figures like Donald Trump defending the couple.
You know, that brings it kind of connects to another story on the list, which is that girl in Scotland who brandished a knife and an axe, was it?
I'd say hatchet.
Hatchet, okay. And I think there was a guy, like a migrant, who was being, like, stalking her and sexually, being inappropriate. And so she felt threatened. Just showed what she had, and now she's being charged because that makes sense.
And do we know what she's being charged for or with?
That's a good question.
Brandishing. I think it's illegal to brandish a knife in the UK. I don't think you're allowed to even have a shiv or like a pen or anything like that.
But I guess if it's maybe it's because it's illegal, but I don't think that's the case. So let's look it up here. All right, Scottish.
So they have no way of defending themselves, pretty much,
Correct.
legally.
Possessing a bladed weapon, also known as a knife. You got one of those bladed Ooh, that sounds scary. Bladed.
It just goes to show why the Second Amendment is so important, because you end up in a situation where you have foreign invaders coming in and having their way with your daughters.
So we all know about the cartels in Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be realistic. The only reason they've never come north and tried to pull their crap up here is we're armed. Texas is armed.
That's right.
You want to mess around in Texas now? If Mexico bordered Canada, Canada wouldn't exist.
Cartel nada.
But that's just it. That's why it's so important that we're armed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, say what you want, but we've never, other than Pearl Harbor, we've never been attacked on our land. Since like the 1800s.
I'm more of a 2A absolutist than a free speech absolutist, I'd say. I've been talking a lot of shit about the First Amendment lately, but when it comes to the Second Amendment, that's pretty much the only reason why any sort of liberty exists on the planet today, is because of the founders put that Second Amendment in there.
They did it specifically for what they tried to, jazz up January 6th as American citizens rising up against the government. That was the whole reason it's there. If they become corrupt, we have the ability to stop it. And they are stripping that away. They're trying to strip that away as much as they can. And Donald Trump, for all the good he does, he did ban bump stocks. He did say take the guns away and sort it out later.
That is true.
He's not great on it, but he's definitely better than, the former AG of California. What are we even talking about here?
And what's crazy, somebody shared getting back to that story in Scotland, somebody shared a Reddit thread, which is not necessarily representative because Reddit is insane. I think if you are a regular Reddit user, you shouldn't own guns. I think we can also add another caveat to it. It's pretty big overlap between the Democratic part of it. But there were a lot of people on there were talking about how horrible this girl was for doing that. And, I have family in the UK and, I have connections there, and it is depressing seeing the current state of the United Kingdom. And Scotland is almost debatably worse than England when it comes to its cuckery. So I don't know if you guys remember, about 10 years ago, they had a referendum to declare Scottish independence from the UK. And, William Wallace, no, they voted against their own independence. They wanted to stay on. But when the UK voted for Brexit to leave the European Union, then there was talk again like, hey, we should have voted for independence so we could have stayed with the EU. Scotland is so depressing. I don't know what it is about the Scottish. They're like more cucked British people.
So I kind of follow Scottish politics. I'm not Scottish. Don't ask me why. But who here knows about Humza Yousaf?
Oh, you're leading me in, buddy. Keep going.
Okay. Idea. So he is the leader of the Scottish National Party. Then it's Nationals. What is it? SNP, Scottish Nationalist Party, right? Who got up in their version of Congress and said, you know what? There's too many white people here in Scotland. Okay, I'll just leave that there. And then he had that hate speech bill that they were supposed to aggressively go after any kind of hate speech. Over murders, over theft, over anything like that. He basically got laughed out of the government. But how is the leader of the nationalist party of your country against the tenets your country was founded on? So it's not a serious place.
What happened? Why are they so cuckified?
Well, let me just play this clip of this guy, and you'll see why that girl was charged. It's infuriating, but we'll turn it around after this. I think
it's my boy.
White. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every prison governor, white. And not just justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white.
You're in a white country!
So
it's Scotland! Why is this so crazy?
So fun story, that hate speech bill, the most reported thing was the speech we just watched.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think I remember hearing that. That's awesome.
And they were like, yeah, we're not going to do anything about that. That's not hate speech. See, when they fuddle around with words and they change what racism means, or they change what, when they change what fascism mean, they add the word far right, even though it tends to be more left. It affects people's brains. Because, yeah, there's talk, like when they changed racism, the definition in the dictionary. There was talk at the time, but nobody talks about it anymore. Everybody, well, not so much recently, but for a while there, everybody just accepted the new definition.
Well, these words are spells. These like racist, xenophobic, homophobic, white supremacy. They're spells, and it literally it's called also a thought terminating cliche that just gets stuck in somebody's head. And if you're associated with a conspiracy theorist, far right, racist, whatever, people's brains just shut off. It's like this way, and that's how the spell works. You say this word, and somebody who's programmed to not listen to anything else because that person is that spell that I must not listen to. It just terminates all thought, and they just go, you're an enemy. You're the devil.
It's the craziest spell I think they've ever pulled off is the reverse racism type of thing, where over 3 or 4 years, all of a sudden, everyone's pretty much racist against white people, and it's crazy to me because it's like they don't realize they're being so racist, and they think they're being righteous. It's just unbelievable.
Well, it's not racism. That's not a thing. Reverse racism is fake.
Well, they changed the definition of racism, so technically, according to the dictionary, you cannot be racist against white people. If you look that up, they made it so that the wording is the people in power, and because we are technically a majority, you can't be racist against them.
Right. But it just blows my mind that many people aren't using logic to realize that they're being racist, regardless of what they write as definitions.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Well, Steve, then, is the targeting of white South Africans, that's racism then, right? Because they're in the minority.
I would agree that it would be racism either way. I was against apartheid when I was a kid. Which was the opposite, if you don't remember, and I'm against it now. I don't care what your skin color is. If someone's discriminating against you because of it, you are a victim of racism. That's just all there is to it.
Well, my point was, even though white people are in the minority in that country, it's not viewed like you're not seeing the anti-racist advocates being like, oh well. Yeah, that's good that Trump is doing that because they are being targeted because they're a minority. No, it doesn't matter. It's all.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Do you remember their response? That's not happening. Was their response? That's
but here's why it's a good thing.
What was it? Is it Zimbabwe, the country that?
Rhodesia, yeah, before that.
Yeah, Rhodesia. They did the exact same thing, and now the people of Rhodesia are starving and fleeing to South Africa.
Yep.
I don't think it's good on either side, but people have been conditioned. There's been black entertainment television since the 90s, black-only fraternities and colleges. That's fine if they want to segregate, but I don't think it's good for society.
Well, and that's the Civil Rights Act. There's actually good arguments for why the Civil Rights Act should have never been passed in the first place as well. Because it goes against your freedom of assembly. Thank you. And also affirmative action is super racist as well. So we have this kind of infiltration of, like, what did you call it, Silas? It's like reverse racism. And it goes back to the 60s.
Another aspect of it is treating any race like they treat blacks as special and they try to help them more. And even though they think that's positive, they are being racist.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just, I'm reacting to my own clip that I had pulled up.
Don't you dare interrupt a black man when he's speaking. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Not on my stream.
I will kiss
you. It's the old Tom Shoes example. Do you guys remember Tom Shoes?
No.
Every pair of Tom shoes you bought, they would send a pair of shoes to Africa.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So here's the problem. nobody in Africa figured out how to make shoes. And then liberals stopped buying Tom's shoes, and now ain't nobody got shoes. So you're not actually helping.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah, just like the Mr. Beast stuff. It's like, you know, you have good intentions, but
Charity marketing. I mean, it's such a fucking
oh,
scam. I mean,
it's
it's
gross,
just as
actually.
bad, if not worse, than the prosperity gospel.
That's such a good point. Well, you had Silas, you had said something about, you know, basically in a roundabout way, you treat certain minorities as less than, so you give them like special treatment, which is not helping them in the long term because, you know, you're not actually giving them adversity to overcome, to improve their skills, and all of that. And I saw this story. I could not. I mean, this just summarizes that to a T.
Think you'd be going to college here?
No, never. Never in a million years.
In some ways, Alicia Ortiz is living an American dream. The 19-year-old began her freshman year at the University of Connecticut in Hartford this fall. She's excited to study public policy, the culmination of hard work after moving north from Puerto Rico as a child.
Do you remember when you first came to Connecticut?
Yes, I remember I was very nervous, but I know it was gonna be better opportunities for me to learn.
But Alicia says those opportunities never came to fruition.
Even today, could you read this, or would it take you a long time?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
Alicia graduated from the Hartford public school system last year, but she says today she is illiterate. She still doesn't know how to read or write. When she was in early education,
They would just either tell me to stay in a corner and sleep, or just
my
draw
God.
pictures, flowers for them.
But she made it into University of Connecticut, which
Yeah.
I think is a pretty good school.
Mm-hmm.
How is
What
that
is it?
possible?
They call it, I believe, the bigotry of low expectations. You're actually being more racist that way than giving them the help tools to succeed. You're just pushing them through. You see it. Who's familiar with Tiffany Henyard?
No, I'm not.
Oh my God. So she was the mayor of a town in Illinois, right outside Chicago.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
The super mayor.
She was like super corrupt. Just
Oh yeah, and you know she was doing all kinds of stuff. And anytime anyone came to her, it was you're being racist, you're being racist. Except for now she's under federal indictment. They brought Lori Lightfoot back to do an audit on the finances and what the amount of malfeasance that was going on is. She took it from like a $6 million surplus to a deficit of $3-4 million in 2 years. It's just insanity. They were ready to repossess police vehicles.
oh my
If they weren't paying the notes.
Crazy.
Yeah, it
But
says controversies. Henyard faced accusations of misusing taxpayer funds, including lavish spending on personal expenses like hair and makeup, a Las Vegas trip, and an ice rink costing $48,000, as revealed by an investigation led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The village's finances reportedly went from a $5.6 million surplus to a $3.6 million deficit under her leadership.
Not bad for right off the top of my head memory, huh? There was one cop that worked her personal security that got 130 hours. There was something stupid like there was maybe 20 something hours he didn't work in a 2-week pay period. It was just insanity. But you can't say anything because of the climate we're in. Well, they did say something, and she's in a lot of trouble now. But
Well, it seems like the weather is changing. We've got some climate change on the race relations front. And also, can we just bring up the Raja Jackson thing real quick here?
of course,
I mean, I don't know if everybody saw it, but the clip was going viral of him just absolutely going full on beast mode, animalistic, brutal, primitive beast mode on that professional wrestler, because I don't know, it seemed like maybe he got triggered in the moment or something like that. Do we know what were the details? Do we know why he went off? It was supposed to be like a stunt, right?
Yep.
But he ended up just going full on Rampage Jackson beast mode on this guy.
Well, I watched something about it, and he was like streaming to his audience, and I think a lot of people before the fight were kind of egging him on, like calling him out, like, "Oh, dude, you got to get back at him for that." And like, I don't know if he's just not that smart or something, and he just in the moment. I mean, there's no justification at all for that. I think it's just, and his reaction afterward, it's like he's just not that smart. I don't know.
There is, I guess, another video I've heard about that shows evidence of premeditation on it.
Oh, really?
So he may be investigated on that, but I haven't seen the video.
Well, he hasn't even been arrested yet, and the guy is still in critical condition in the hospital, which is insane to me. And I guess California. Oh, he is. He did get arrested.
Oh, did he? I was going to say he's regained.
Okay,
I'm on it.
I was going to say Psycho Stu was his name. He has regained consciousness. So there is that. But you got to think in the modern age, who, if we would have brought up Raja Jackson last week, who would have known who he was?
No idea.
And now today, everyone knows who he is.
It's true.
So are we rewarding this kind of behavior?
Yeah. And I keep saying it, attention is a hell of a drug, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like it's safer to smoke crack cocaine with Hunter Biden than it is to be on the internet seeking attention and approval from all the psychopaths and bots. I really do believe that this attention economy is just ruining brains. You know, it's the same reason why somebody would want to go perform some sort of mass shooting is because they want the attention, right? I personally am like, I could go probably 3 or 4 years without having any sort of attention and be okay with it. Like, you know, that there's that meme of like, there's like a little chair. It's like a lake in the middle of nowhere with a little house and like a chair. And it's like, men will like sit here with no problem for 3 weeks or something. And it's like, that's how I feel at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's different kinds of attention. If I have a thought, I'd like to share it with people. But I would not want to be known for a crime I committed or I hurt someone. I wouldn't want to be known because I made a U-turn on the highway. That's not the kind of attention I would want. Or for being just mind-numbingly stupid on the internet. Like King Cobra JFS. I don't know if you heard about him. He just passed away. He was known for, you know, mixing Monster and beer and liquor, and he passed away. But that was how he got attention, and it literally killed him at the age of 32.
Real quick, I just wanted to pop in with a thought here. Is that you know, I'm a stepdad, and I've been a stepdad for about 5 years, and I've had to learn a lot about kids, like a crash course in kids. And one of the things that I learned is that kids and adults alike, they want attention, and they want the good kind of attention. But if they don't get the good kind of attention, they will settle for the bad kind of attention. And I think that's what we're seeing now. You know, people do want attention, and they'll try to get it by creating something or making a song or whatever. But then when they don't get the attention that they want, they'll settle for OnlyFans or committing a crime or shock content or whatever.
I mean,
yeah, I was talking with a friend about this, you know, the phenomenon of mass shooters, and it's interesting to me because you don't hear about serial killers anymore. It's just mass shooters, and it's kind of a reflection of our culture in the sense that it's that instant gratification. If I'm going to go out, I'll just do it in a blaze of glory because, you know, just do it that way. And it's interesting how that trend has shifted from, you know, the John Wayne Gacy guys to just, I'm just going to go to a public place and do that.
So can I interject with why you don't hear about serial killers anymore?
Sure.
They were prevalent in the 70s and the 80s when there was lead in the gas, and lead contributes to violent, unhinged behavior, and that was in the atmosphere. So when they took the lead out of the gas, it kind of backed off. But now, ever since Columbine, there's been that thing where if you do a shooting, you get the attention. Remember the guy who shot up the Dark Knight?
Yep.
You'll never forget his hair.
Yeah.
I always confuse the lead singer of Maroon 5 and the guy from Sandy Hook. Adam Lambert and Adam Lanza.
Adam Levine.
Oh, Adam Lambert's another guy, yeah.
Adam Lambert. Yeah, that would make more sense.
But
well, that's why it's good. There's, the Daily Wire does have a policy of not naming the mass shooter in order to avoid them getting the attention that they were seeking. And I think that's actually a pretty smart policy. Fox News and CNN and all the, mainstream media doesn't do that. And also, of course, social media doesn't do that. But, I think it's at least a good faith policy. And I think if more news outlets would do that, I think it would be a good idea.
I don't know if it would solve the problem, though.
They should reveal the name if it's been changed within the last 5 years.
To solve the problem, we just have to take everybody's guns away. Duh.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the guy? I think it might have been in Ohio, Steve, who this is a couple of years ago, but I want to say he did a mass shooting on I think it was a military base.
Okay.
And he had recorded a video of himself saying, Mom and Dad, I'm going to do this because I'm going to target this unit within the military that is focused on creating mass shooters.
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can pull up that clip, because when I heard that, I was like, what the f-? And the guy because the clip of him saying it, he sounds very like coherent and intelligent. And that's like the really creepy part is like, okay, what level of an op was this get exposed to? But I never discount that. It's easy to play the conspiracy angle and everything. This is an op. This is a MK Ultra person. But there is a fair amount of that, and you do see, especially with the high profile shootings, there's always something that's a little off about it. That's makes you wonder. I mean, we can bring up all those instances, but who knows?
Well,
I mean, and I've heard that too with serial killers. I actually read a book about it. I'm trying to think of the name of the book now, but
yeah. So that kind of went into the memory hole, the shooting you were talking about. Just like, does anyone remember, I don't know, 2 weeks after Biden took office, a guy ran a car into the barricades and tried to break through?
Well, there was the Waukesha one. Is that the one that you're talking about?
No, it was in DC.
Oh yeah. And then they pulled out the Nazi flag and it had the perfect folds in it.
Which, by the way, I don't want to recommend that anyone do this, but where do you even buy one?
Oh, Amazon's got them.
No, they do not.
yeah, and if you buy now, you get a free FBI agent with your purchase.
Mm-hmm. You get it with copies of the Turner Diaries, but we're not going to get into that. In Elohim City.
Well, I wanted to loop back around to this Scottish girl situation because it brings up the concept of anarcho-tyranny, which we've talked about on this show quite a bit, and we're seeing so many instances of it. Well, whether it was the Daniel Penny situation, Kyle Rittenhouse, or just general life in a big city, where I'll give you one example of anarcho-tyranny in my life. I went to the local gas station to buy some flavored Zins, which I learned were now banned at that store. And mind you, I walk out, and this store is right next to Home Depot. So I see 50 to 100 migrants, like illegal immigrants, hanging out, selling their juice, like waiting for somebody to pick them up. And I'm now banned from having a flavor with my Zyn, and this is supposed to be the law.
Yeah.
This is law and order, guys. We're keeping the kids safe.
That's liberal politics for you.
But I bring this up because I pulled up a clip of. Are you guys familiar with Wade Stotts at all? Highly recommend following this guy. He puts out a video, I think, once a week. It's very, very well done. It's a little comedic and very, very informative. I want to play this clip on anarcho-tyranny here.
British Columbia has ruled that doing drugs on playgrounds is constitutionally protected. That's right, it's a constitutional right for you to be slumped over on the slide high on heroin as long as you don't pull out a cigarette. The Justice Department has sued Texas over a law that would let police arrest migrants who enter the U.S. illegally. The DOJ thinks people should be arrested for real crimes, like running for president. At least once a week, we're confronted with a pairing of stories like this, each one designed to show us the hypocrisy of our ruling elite. And it does do that. But there's a name for this kind of thing, and it was coined by a man named Sam. No, not him. Not him. This guy, Sam Francis. In 1994, he wrote an essay called Anarcho-Tyranny USA, and in it he showed why and how long this type of thing has been happening. He starts off with a story. In September 1993, a man named B.W. Sanders was pulled over in North Carolina for not wearing a seatbelt. But this wasn't your typical traffic stop. Sanders was confronted by over 70 police officers and the governor of the state. Normally, to get this kind of reception in North Carolina, you'd have to do something crazy, like wear a Duke hat, or criticize their soggy barbecue. But it turns out the state had just enacted new seatbelt laws and wanted to use Mr. Sanders' case as a photo op. As you might expect, that wasn't the most serious thing going on in North Carolina. Turns out the state had just set a cap on inmate numbers for prisons, which led to the release of potentially dangerous criminals, 14 of whom murdered someone within the year, including the guy who murdered Michael Jordan's dad. That's right, we can even blame anarcho-tyranny for this. Anarcho-tyranny has the government play both Batman and Joker, enforcing laws against innocent citizens while letting the real criminals roam free. They play Batman so that they can look like high-tech crime fighters, and they play Joker because who hasn't at this point? There's the tyranny side, asset seizure laws, mandatory sensitivity training, gun control laws, and there's the anarchy side, where people are allowed to block city streets to protest gasoline. To change the metaphor, when the subject is jaywalking and seatbelt violations, they're RoboCop. But when it comes to murder and looting, they're Chief Wiggum. So why do they do this? Francis argues that the government is more interested in creating make-believe functions, raking in some revenue and flexing its muscles than actually dealing with real crime. There's a certain kind of chaos that's useful to them. But it's also because they believe in the cause. Many of the people involved think they're making up for years of oppression by punishing certain people and letting others off the hook. That's why San Francisco won't let Twitter employees nap in their offices, but they're fine with mass homeless encampments. This is why they raid family farms and hide the Epstein tapes. Fireworks are outlawed in France because certain immigrants were using them as weapons. The immigrants still use them, but no one else does. That's anarcho-tyranny. The state declares emergencies, swoops in like Superman, and uses the chaos to beef up its power. Here's a quote. Under anarcho-tyranny, the state creates a problem, which sometimes actually has some connection to reality, declares an emergency or crisis, and then exploits that problem as an instrument by which it continues to enhance its power. Though neither the fake problem it exploits nor the real problem that exists is affected, the anarchy that anarcho-tyranny breeds thus serves as the rationale for the tyranny it builds. Sound familiar? Americans, in Francis's view, are becoming passive players in the game of life, dependent on mass corporations and institutions, no longer willing to protect what's theirs. In the realm of anarcho-tyranny, this passivity isn't just a side effect, it's a crucial player. Citizens are convinced they can't fend for themselves, so they turn to law enforcement and bureaucrats for protection. So why is it useful to know what anarcho-tyranny is? We have to know what they're doing to us if we want to fight back. We have to be able to recognize the pattern and name it. That's what Sam Francis did in this essay. Anarcho-tyranny is not just hypocrisy or incompetence. It's a strategy. I learned this concept a couple years ago from R.N. McIntyre, but this has been going on for a long time, and Sam Francis was talking about it in the early 90s. And now that we have a term, we can make sure this doesn't happen to us. Some progressives justify their agenda with Bible verses. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. But that's exactly what they're not doing. The victims of anarcho-tyranny are the most helpless people. Daniel Penny was protecting innocent people on a train. He got arrested, and his bail was set at $100,000. Jordan Neely was endangering and threatening those same people, and he got put on the cover of magazines. A certain kind of Christian loves to quote Romans 13, but that passage says, "For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil." What happens when your rulers are doing the opposite of that? Sometimes you get righteous pushback. Sometimes you get vigilantism. I guess we'll see what we get. But at least we have a term for it. At least we can understand their moves. And it's all thanks to a guy named Sam. Guys, I told you it's not fun.
Well, there's examples of that going back. It's essentially never let a crisis go to waste. And you can even go back to ancient Rome and other empires who would do the same thing, essentially manufacture a crisis and then use that as justification for some sort of power grab. But it seems like this is like some sort of perpetual crisis creation and power grabbing.
Well, California, for instance, is the prime example of the end result of anarcho-tyranny, and really any blue state, if we're being honest, where average citizens are taxed more, they're forced to abide by more regulations, but meanwhile you have rampant crime, homelessness, drug use, breakdown in civil society, and that just allows the local government to then feed more money to the homeless and then take more of your money because, oh, we created a problem. We got to continue this cycle where we create more programs off problems, whereas if you just go in and Bukele that shit, all of that stuff goes away, and you force people to abide by the rules, and you can still do it humanely, but you dry up that scam and NGO nonprofit well, which is going on big time in Colorado too, in Denver especially, and it's the city is now reducing trash services because we got too far in the hole and just all this crazy bullshit. But it's a tactic to enrich themselves and to, in some ways it's punishing the people. I don't know if it's frankly, it's evil. It's sadistic to use your population like this for your own power. And I don't know how aware most Democratic politicians and people are of what's going on, but it's so obvious. The answers. And this goes back to Trump's DC takeover too, where they're complaining about, oh, it's horrible, and yet they had the longest streak of not having a murder, almost like it works. But that's what they're scared of. That's why they don't want them to go to Chicago. And granted, you can debate whether that's whatever, if it's constitutional or legal, but the point is they're afraid of it because that shows that there is an answer. If you show force, and you don't even have to pull the trigger. You can just be there and say, we will. And lo and behold, it works.
Yeah. But then you also have controlled opposition and cynical politicians on the opposite side that love crime and they love abortion because that's what they're able to run on. Right? So you have a Republican or a law and order Republican has a really good advantage of winning in a district or in a state that has rampant crime, because they can run on stopping that crime, and then once the crime is gone, then the Democrats are going to come in or whatever opposition, liberals or Workers' Party or whatever, is going to come in and be like, oh, well, there's injustices here and here and here. And then the cycle continues essentially.
Yeah. And maybe it has to get this bad for people to embrace that level of what the answer is.
Yeah.
Look at where El Salvador had to get to, the most violent or one of the most violent countries in the Western Hemisphere, and they are now the safest. Now you can qualm with maybe there was some abuses, but it worked. The end goal worked, and El Salvador is on its way to potentially becoming a Singapore of Central America. They invested heavily in Bitcoin. They're very much free markets. But they're not, they're it works. It's a smaller country, it's homogenous, that always helps. But Bukele got like 80% of the vote the last election. So
Well,
democracy.
so did Saddam.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's going to be a huge contrast if Trump does this in all the major cities, because they've gotten to that point where it's unsafe to, go to dinner, even go to the gas station. You just never know what's going to happen. So if he does that everywhere, it's going to be a big message, basically, like Adrian was saying, that what they were doing was just playing around and not addressing any issues, really.
So one thing that stands out to me, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but in the 70s in New York City, they had the Guardian Angels. You guys know about that?
Right, on the subways to
The
kind of
subway vigilantes. People who took things into their own hands. That doesn't happen. And I'm sitting here listening and thinking about that. It's odd to me. Not that I'm advocating for it, you understand, because it's not right. But why doesn't that happen? What is the disconnect that'll allow someone to commit a crime but not someone else to stop it? Why?
I'll tell you, it's the DAs.
You think,
They figured out that's why the Soros DAs is so critical to this whole operation, because they can choose who they prosecute and who they let go.
so
And,
you're
yeah.
talking the guy who set the woman on fire in the subway in December, was everybody just filmed it with their phones? Nobody even tried to help the woman. Never mind getting the guy. Nobody bothered to help that woman that was on fire.
Yeah, well,
Everybody forgot about that.
To be fair, there was that study, and I want to say it was in the 70s, of where I think it was like 20 people in an apartment complex witnessed a woman getting murdered, and nobody called the police or tried to stop it. And they were trying to study, like, when you're in a group, sometimes the responsibility to react is also diluted so that people aren't they don't feel like they're responsible. But it's crazy. I mean, if you see that happening, why don't you stop it? Obviously. But
so
there's a word for that, right? Like the Good Samaritan paradox, or like something like that, where it's like bystanders. Yeah, something like that.
Adrian, have you watched the Boondock Saints lately?
It's been a while.
Okay, because that's the opening of the movie. Kitty Genovese, all that evil needs to flourish is the inactivity of good men. But I was going to say, is it because it was the same New York City system that Daniel Penny got arrested on? Was that why nobody was willing to help?
That's a part of it. And you're seeing this more and more, where the Good Samaritan is the one who's punished. There were other instances of that. There was a guy on the New York subway who used a skateboard recently to defend off against a guy who brandished a knife and was being aggressive with him, and he hit the guy, and then he got arrested. So I think that's anarcho-tyranny is, I swear, it is the modus operandi of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
In pretty much, when you're trying to logically understand, like, why would they do this? This is not working. This is terrible. But that's in every situation. Illegal immigration, huge example of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to pay big fees to register my vehicles, insure them. But somebody can come in, not have insurance, not register their vehicle. They won't get pulled over because there's no accountability. They're not going to get prosecuted, because then they might get deported, and we're a sanctuary. So our sanctuary city for everyone else is just an anarcho-tyranny zone. Mm-hmm. If you're a law-abiding citizen, and that causes so much. I think it's also, just 1 second. It's a destabilization campaign. That's also a huge part of it, and that leads to so many other breakdowns that they can exploit, and whatever their goal is. But yeah, that's what Soros' MO is, really.
That's actually something he wrote, that in chaos, historic moments happen. And I believe, I could be wrong on this because I'm not a fan of him, but I believe he wrote that about the George Floyd thing, that during chaos, a great thing happened, and that none of that was great. But and chaos favors authoritarianism, because if it gets too bad, you'll beg for them to come in and cure the problem that they allowed to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's why the term anarcho-tyranny is so
succinct,
because it's tyranny from the anarchy that you're and this happened in the Soviet Union to some extent too. I think they used prisoners to basically become the new police after the Bolshevik Revolution. So you let the people who are the criminals run your society. That's kind of what's happening in a different way in the United States and in the West, as we're seeing in Scotland, in all of Europe. If you try to defend yourself, or if you just hang the English flag, it's seen as, I don't know if you guys are aware of what that movement that's been going on in the UK and in England. Yep. People hanging the English flag around.
Well, did you
hear? Very, very offensive, and police are taking it down. Some guy didn't get let into a pub, and I had this video, but it's a longer video. It's probably not really worth playing. But the gist of it is, he has the English flag, and they won't let him into the pub in England. Granted, it's in Birmingham, which is majority Muslim at this point, which is crazy. I think it's 50 or 60% Muslim.
Many such cases, which is a shame.
It's becoming more common.
But,
do you think that the English people, I'm just trying to psychologize a little bit, because do you think that the English people have a guiltiness for the British Empire and all the oppression and everything, conquering the world and stuff like that? Do you think that maybe they have some sort of guilt or shame or something like that, and so it turns into like some suicidal empathy or something, or are they just a bunch of pussies? I don't know what the heck.
Yeah, 100%. They transferred the empire from themselves over to the US. They were the greatest empire the world had ever seen. And then it's that oikophobia stuff where when you're a country on the rise, you don't have that. But when you're a country that's in decline, and you've also had time you have decadence and you have the excesses of your empire, then you start to look inward. And this happened in Greece, it happened in Rome, it's happened in the US now, where you look inward because you have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
And then you also have a lot of time and history to say, look at how bad the British Empire was. We did X, Y, and Z to this country. We're so terrible. And so your entire story becomes just apologizing. I know we did some bad. I know we were the British Empire. Oh, I guess. Who are we to say, you know what? We came to your country. Come on in. Just come on in, guys. It's literally, in some psychological way, it's reparations for colonization.
Yeah.
They're allowing themselves to be colonized.
They're at that stage. Weak men create hard times, and I think most of the world is kind of at that stage, except for maybe tribal areas.
So you guys know that cops they don't carry guns over there, right?
Some of them do, I think.
Not many. They have like SWAT units that do, but your regular patrol units don't. And they're arresting people for saying things like, "I like bacon."
Yeah, oh God, I saw that.
So maybe there's more. What's the word I'm looking for? Maybe there's more rebellion than we think. We're just not seeing it.
I will say that the English people during COVID were some of the strongest resistance in the Western world. They had some of the biggest protests. NHS workers refused the shot. They were very in opposition to Canada even too. I mean, because you look at Canada and we can all see the similarities there, where they're allowing themselves to be invaded, and they also very cucked. But there is a strong, vocal. I think they're a minority of people who are pushing back. But this is the thing. Again, this is why you bring in people from another country, is you split the population. You have the British native population, but maybe half of them are liberal. And so then that other half that's conservative, if you bring in another 15, 20% who are maybe don't have allegiance to either side, then you can dilute it and control it. So it's a very obvious tactic to prevent an actual uprising, because they're in the minority, even though the spirit of Britain is in those people. You know, the spirit of Canada, who aren't just demoralized and apologizing for their existence and everything, is in those people, because they're willing to fly the flag. They're willing to stand up for what their nation is. And there was that incident, I think it was last year, where there were some riots by some of the British people over a guy who stabbed a few girls and murdered a few girls at I think it was like a Taylor Swift dance class or something. And there was huge uprising, and that's what led to, you know, the social media arrests and a lot of the high profile things that we saw last summer. And they're just, it's scary, dude. I can't emphasize that enough, how insane it is to witness that. You know, we saw it during COVID in Australia and other places, but this is like for your thoughts, for flying your own nation's flag. And alarm bells aren't going off in the liberal part of the country, where it's like, dude, your country is going to be gone. It's not going. They will change the name of England at a certain point if they need to. Like, it's gone. They're going to take it, and they're not going to tell you. And the white liberals of that country are going to be like, what? I thought we were still going to have those rights. I thought we were all one. You know, one entity. I stood for you guys for X, Y, and Z. No, you didn't realize what your country was, and you didn't fucking care to defend it. So it's gone, and that's. I know I'm on a rant right now, but I'm just gets me fired up, because it's like, dude, your country is being taken away from you,
which is kind of happening over here, and it's really just a prequel. Or, you know, it's just a, you know,
but it's
a
so
warning.
much more. It's so much more obvious in a country like England. It's tiny. It's the size of maybe Michigan.
How hard would it have been? And it's also an island. How hard would it have been to not let in millions of Muslims?
You know what you could do? You just say no.
Just say no.
That's all you had to do. But Australia is dealing with the same shit, and they're even further away from everybody else.
Yeah,
you know, Starmer came out and said they did it on purpose.
That's true. Yeah.
He gave a speech, and he's like, "You guys deserve to know this is all by design. You don't like it, tough." But you were talking about Canadians. Look at the trucker protest, but then look at the response the Canadian government had. They debanked them. They took all their money away. They locked a bunch of them up. They put a bunch of them on trial for protesting. They did not,
Yeah, BLM versus the trucker rally is the most obvious example of anarcho-tyranny I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That was two different
in your face.
That was two different countries. But remember, there was the dock workers strike. Do you guys remember that? It was happening under Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, the union head, was like, well, you know, we'll shut it down, but if Trump wins, we're going to bring it back. And DeSantis mobilized the National Guard to go work the docks. And they shut that down. But
well, it's definitely creepy, and it should be a wake-up call to all patriotic Americans, sane liberals and Democrats, if there are any, as well as the more good old boys constitutional conservatives. If you look at what's going on in Mexico, you have a socialist president over there, a female socialist president in Mexico. You've got the Trudeau regime, the psychopathic suicidal Canadians. You've got the UK. You've got all of Europe that is just cuck-maxing, and everyone, and you see it kind of creeping its way into into this country too. It is a huge red flag. It's like we're kind of surrounded on all sides when it comes to this, and I think it's a white pill for me to know that we actually did win that last election, and that Trump is actually making some changes, and a lot of all the sane liberals and sane Democrats aren't Democrats anymore. And so it's nice to see, but God, is there still so much work to do.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder what the breaking point is for some people, and we've talked about this on other shows when it comes to whatever issue. I mean, COVID or 2020. If you're still aligned with the Democratic Party, or that the establishment in your country, the Labor Party or Macron or whoever it is, what is it going to take? I mean, for you to deny reality in front of your face. But that's such an essential part of being a liberal at this point is being compartmentalized in your narrative reality. And when you go out through your daily life and you're dealing with the results of the people you support, then you're able to just not connect it whatsoever. And it's for the sane people out there, and we happen to be 4 of them. It's infuriating to be in these circumstances. Sometimes you just want to shake some people and put on the fucking glasses, dude. Look.
Yeah.
The vaccine is bad.
Yeah. I was going to say, you just want to shake them. Like, dude. Well, especially when you're in a blue state like me. I think I'm probably in the worst blue state other than maybe New York. And it's horrible. It's horrifying. And to walk around amongst them is just a dystopian and very scary type of feeling. I mean, it's like zombies. It's like The Walking Dead. I mean, I know the word NPC is used a lot, but it's like it's kind of horrifying in a weird. It's like there's a feeling that you get where you kind of don't think that reality is real. Not disillusionment, but it's like
dissociation.
Yeah, it's like dissociating to walk around like, oh my God, am I in a fucking in a simulation or something like that? But I will say there's a lot of sane people here in California. Like, I think more than people would realize, or that the media would have you believe. I think California is like 41% Republican, but in these bigger cities, it's like just a dominated by NPCs. I don't know what else to call them.
I think a huge part of it really was how much illegal immigration California has dealt with.
Yeah.
Because if it hadn't had that, California would potentially be a Republican state, or at the very least, a swing state.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how do you reverse the programming? Like, there's been so many crazy things that have happened now in the last 4 years. Is there like a certain example that we can tell them that would help their mind start to click the other way?
Do the same thing they did right back to them.
Yeah.
Change the word undocumented, whatever the hell they want to call it, back to illegal alien. Because calling them undocumented sounds like a paperwork error.
Mm-hmm.
Calling them an illegal immigrant makes them a criminal.
Yeah, that's the fact of the matter.
Well, but you got to think though that just triggers the spells, the xenophobia, and the thought terminating cliches. So, really, the question to answer is, how do you stop the thought terminating cliche? And I honestly think you probably need electroshock therapy at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
divine intervention,
shaking
really
them to the core.
Exorcism.
I mean, I think we should remake, potentially, hear me out, Clockwork Orange, but red pilling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Re-education camps.
Yeah.
Well,
Red pill camps.
I'll give you guys an example. Who's familiar with Anna Kasparian?
Oh yeah.
And her big freak out after the guy on the train and all the different stuff that's happened. And she says, wait a minute, they have to experience it themselves. Remember that guy last year that got stabbed in New York City in front of his girlfriend? And the girlfriend was going to the prison trying to help the guy who stabbed her boyfriend out. Do you guys remember that? Oh, that was wild. It was just some crazy homeless guy at like 3 a.m. And dude wearing a suit, like a hipster suit, walks up on him and he stabs him. He killed him.
Wow.
And the girlfriend's like, don't make this racial. And it's not a matter of race. He killed him. There's not really a discussion to be had here. He took his life. You may not value it, but I imagine he did.
Well, I believe she was an activist too, if I remember correctly.
They both were.
Yeah, right.
But it doesn't. That's neither here nor there. That was a life taken in front of you, and if you value life so little that doesn't affect you, the problem is you.
Well, it's kind of a microcosm of that heat map. You guys seen that? It's like sphere of attention or my sphere of concern, and the more conservative people have a heat map that's closer to them in proximity. So like family, community, the church. Whereas people on the left tend to have a heat map that's more concerned with people that have less of a connection to them. So like the world, or whether it's, like you could say that with Palestine, or, people that are far removed, but that's where all of your attention's going instead of right at home. And that's, like, if you're not, this woman is more concerned with the idea of social justice than she is of her partner who was just murdered. What's gonna stop that thought terminating cliche? Man, I don't know. Like, I mean, I joke about brainwashing or like the steps needed, but argument and logic and reason and all the things that we're talking about right now, if we were talking to somebody right now who was like that, I mean, they would have walked out of the room. You would have to literally lock them in the room to get them to like break through, like some type of therapy.
Yeah.
Because I know, in my personal experience, when I'm around somebody that has that NPC kind of programming, all you feel is like they're suppressing themselves. They're literally suppressing reality constantly. It's convoluted and it's compartmentalized. And so when you try to talk about these issues, when it gets into those, that feels racist, that feels xenophobic, then they just compartmentalize, and you're one of those people. And it is a evil mind control fucking system that has been perpetuated on the public for generations.
Yeah. It actually is very dangerous psychologically, the longer that the person has been into it, to actually expose their flaws in their thinking, to get them to actually question what they believe is real. It becomes really, really difficult and traumatic, and they will fight literally like tooth and nail, and they will fight. I've had somebody try to beat me up multiple times for asking basic questions about morality, because it triggers something so visceral inside of them, and they can't. It's a demonic trance, but it's also a demonic trance that has lasted for a really long time. And so the harder it is, and really it just comes down to divine intervention, in my opinion. I mean, you need divine intervention you need the Holy Spirit essentially to come down and take away the veil of the eyes on the eyes, to release the chains and the bonds on the heart, in order for somebody to actually see the light, essentially. And that really is what it comes down to. And usually whenever I have a conversation, I'm kind of like riffing on what Silas was talking about, like, how do you really do this? How can you actually convince somebody? And a big part of what I have to do is, whenever I talk about have a political conversation with somebody, is it always has to come back to God, whether or not God exists. Because if that's the main question that's going to trickle down into all of these other moral conundrums and political biases and stuff like that. If God exists, then it changes everything. And so if you actually can convince somebody that God exists, then it actually triggers a dominoes effect of all of the other false ideas that they have, because all of their ideas, especially secular liberals, all of their ideas are based off of this evolutionary scientism type worldview, where it doesn't allow metaphysics, it doesn't allow for the prime mover or the creator of the universe. And they are seeing reality fundamentally, they are seeing reality improperly. And so that's why you really have to break those bonds. Those are the chains that are around the heart and around the mind that must be severed, that must be broken. And so, yeah, to sit here and have a conversation with somebody about whether or not Trump is a rapist, or whether he's a convicted felon, or he's a terror, or he's a fascist or a Nazi or something. It's like, how can you even have that political conversation when there's this meta topic, the most important question that hasn't been actually addressed? And so that's my 2 cents about how to actually red pill someone, or actually how to convince somebody.
So I would say that everyone, whether it be God or secularism or woke politics, everyone has to believe in something bigger than themselves. And if I were to come to you and say, hey, I want to talk you out of believing in God, you have to understand that this is what you're trying to do to them. You're trying to shake their faith. Their faith is, and California is a great example, because you look at Hollywood, okay? I just saw something the other day with Chris Pratt. They're like, we need less Chris Pratt, who's a family man, who may have done some things that were, with his past wife or whatever. But he's a family man. He believes in God and everything. And we need more Pedro Pascal, who's touching women and making them super uncomfortable. And he's not a great actor. And he looks like John Leguizamo just got big. Like, I don't understand why people enjoy. He's not good.
Classic male feminist.
Yeah, he's a sex pest. But you'll never hear about it unless he crosses someone like Harvey Weinstein did, because it wasn't a secret when he was doing what he was doing. Everybody knew it. It just came to a certain time where he was no longer useful. But you have to find some way to chip away at that belief and make him say, wait a minute. It's not impossible, but they are very built up. Like, so with you mentioned the Trump rapist thing, and you say, well, but that didn't happen. The E. Jean Carroll based her entire testimony off an episode of Law and Order. She doesn't know when it happened. The clothes she was wearing didn't exist yet. These are all facts, but the judge said that it happened. That's not how these things work, but you can't shake them from that.
All right, so to answer, so far, Silas, we have brainwashing and divine intervention.
All right, we're picking up the tools.
Yeah.
So, and then what is Steve's? His is softening their belief system in some way.
You have to subvert it. It's like trying to get someone out of a cult. I don't like using that reference, but you go to someone who believes, I won't use Scientology because that's all nonsense. It's all nonsense, but you know what I mean. Like the Children of God, where Rose McGowan, River Phoenix, and Joaquin Phoenix came from. If you go to someone who truly believes in that and say, maybe you shouldn't be sleeping with children, they're going to be like, but this is what, it's what they know. It's what they know to be right. And to change that, it changes them fundamentally. That's why they fight so hard. That's why they will believe contradictory things. That's why Elon Musk was okay until like July of last year. And then he wasn't okay. But then once him and Trump started fighting, they like him again. It's the same guy. And in 16 months, you've gone from he's, Rocket Man to President Musk to now you've just kind of forgotten about it.
Well, it's their Orwellian sense of time. It's just an eternal present. The past and the future don't really matter. It's just whatever their programming is. You know, my body, my choice. Well, I don't remember. I always remember it as abortion rights. So
Yeah,
I'm not a hypocrite. What do you mean? Nothing
they,
changed.
they had to abandon my body, my choice because it turned out it wasn't your choice when they came to you with a needle. And you said, no, I don't want that. They said, well, as it turns out, it's not your choice.
Yeah, it's convenient. I mean,
Selective.
like I said, this is a sophisticated system because what's so interesting about this is so many of these people that are NPCs who are friends and family that we tolerate. We have tolerance here. A lot of them are very intelligent people.
Yep.
And that's probably the most frustrating part about it. It's like this is not just you're being duped, it's willful ignorance combined with the psychological convenience of somebody's defending my identity, my existence, because scientism and the secular lifestyle, because God doesn't exist in that world, it becomes politics, science, and that's in culture.
So
Those things combine together, and you have people who are. It's a mindfuck to try to unravel because it doesn't make sense to somebody who's trying to piece things together. But if you live a compartmentalized life, that's just what it is.
Well, a lot of these people take their opinions verbatim from their favorite news source, be it a Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, Chris Hayes, whoever.
John Oliver. Deport John Oliver.
Yeah. What's his name? Brian Stelter. They take their talking points from them, and it's nice because you don't have to think. So you can worry about all the different things going on in your life, your OnlyFans page, your key parties or whatever it is, your polygamy, what your sapiosexualness, whatever you think is important to you, but you're not getting fulfilled. A lot of these people, these smart people, are very, very miserable because they're not fulfilled. Because at the end of the day, all of this nonsense does not fulfill you, and they don't know why.
So you have to double down, right? Not rethink your positions. You got to double down. I'm not being fulfilled, so I just got to double down on this.
I have to do it harder.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why white liberal women are the absolute worst. They are. I'm not even joking. They are the prime mover in everything. Look at the word Latinx. Go ahead and say that.
I would qualify that and just say liberal women because they all tend to fall into that mindset. It breaks. It doesn't matter your race.
Can I just? It's just women.
Oh.
Are we talking about repealing an amendment here?
you know it.
but I mean, all joking aside, I put it like that because yes, you have Jasmine Crockett, but for every one of them, you can think of 10. Like I said, and it's just they're the people getting offended for people who aren't offended. The people that cause us to lose the Cleveland Indians or the Washington Redskins, and you lose all the history and heritage.
But you know what? They couldn't take from us?
What's that?
Cracker Barrel.
Oh, they tried.
Oh, we got it back. All right. The pendulum is swinging. All right. We are taking back the ground. Okay. What was once lost is now found. Okay. We are back. We are winning.
Well, I want to address this point because what you're saying about liberal women, and I hear that for sure, but some responsibility does fall on the liberal man who, it's not his role to control his wife, but if you don't push back, and there are probably plenty of situations where it's like, I just don't want the fight. I know this transing the kids is terrible, but I don't want to be that guy, so I'll just play along or whatever it is. There's a lot of that, but the white pill to this is something I heard recently. So we all know that Gen Z men are trending more conservative than any other generation. And there's been that gender gap where Gen Z women are very liberal and Gen Z men are very to the right. And this trend is actually, I don't know the poll, but there's been some movement on Gen Z women to become more conservative. Not, and it's still probably overwhelmingly liberal, but the trend is there, which means that if men are being conservative and having those values, and they're leading, they're being the leader in their family, then women will be influenced by that. Culturally, it's natural. And so if you don't get, not that we're there yet, but if you don't cuck yourself and you obviously you respect the person you're with, but at the same time you speak what your understanding of reality is, and you don't just abide by these values because the future is female and all these things that have been pushed, then the trend will shift. And I think it's a long process. And what we've seen is culturally with Kill Tony and other institutions that are normalizing certain ideas more, podcasts, what we're doing right now, X, all of that makes a difference. And I would like to practice this more in terms of like being more out with my beliefs, but it's like you live around such compartmentalized people who don't want to have this conversation. It's kind of awkward to just throw on the hat, and just walk into a party. But in any situation where you're allowed to have conversation about whatever issue we're talking about, as much as you can slightly interject and say things in a calm way that's rational and that they have to address, I think, and just normalizing like, yeah, it's okay to have these opinions. Like, I'm not going to feel like I'm a horrible person that I have to stay quiet about this stuff. The more we normalize, the more this will get addressed in time. But it's a long process, and I hope to God we don't get to Scotland before it turns around.
I don't think we will.
What's the big difference between Scotland and here?
Guns.
And the First Amendment.
Guns and weed and fentanyl and an open border and horses and
we have a lot more Irish people here, but
well, this kind of shifts into another topic with the First Amendment, the flag burning.
Mm-hmm.
First Amendment, right? First of all, I want to say that I think this is a bait move by the masturbator himself, Trump, to make it that just
what
it flowed.
Okay, sorry.
But he's baiting the left into burning the American flag, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to point out the fact before we get into the First Amendment question.
Mm-hmm.
If you're burning a flag, and I think the executive order specifically talks about starting a riot, right? So this is basically burning the flag in a street, in a public place. That applies to anything. If you burn any fabric in public, that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, in my eyes, we can talk about should America. If you burn a flag in your backyard, you're not going to jail. That's not. But I do think that this is a way for Trump to lure the left into giving some great photo ops for the midterms. He's just like, come on, I got some ads prepared. Come on, give it to me. Here's the left. That's totally what it is.
He's so good at politics. I just want to put that in there. But I want to get your guys' opinion, Silas and Steve. What do you guys think about this issue?
The flag. It's strange that it would be considered a First Amendment right, because you're not talking, you're doing an action, you're burning something. And I would hope that it wouldn't be illegal for people to burn privately, because I think that's fine if it's not in a public space and it's not threatening anyone. If you're making a private statement, private speech, whatever, then I could see that as part of the idea of free speech. But again, it's an action, not a speech, really.
Mm.
So, as far as I go, I see it as I am very against it. As someone who was in the military, not really too keen on people burning flags, but it is expression. Um, Again, I agree with you, Silas. If you're burning it in your backyard, I don't care. If you're using it to incite, violence, revolution, yeah, that's sedition. There's a ton of things you can't do that are covered constitutionally. That's a different story. That's a different scenario. As far as burning a flag, I don't get. I guess I don't want to give people an easy way to be martyrs, and that's what putting people in jail for a year for burning a flag would do. It'd be very simple. It's why I'm okay with the fact that you haven't really seen a lot of arrests yet. We did see Bolton get raided. Low carb Wilford Brimley got in trouble. I'm for that. But look at what happened with the mugshot and Trump.
Yeah.
And if they arrest Adam Schiff, his face will be everywhere. I've seen him like 5 times in the last week, and that was 6 too many.
I don't know. Just to push back, I don't think that martyr narrative is going to work as well when these arguments hit X podcasts, political ads, when it comes to breaking down the truth. They don't have the monopoly on the narrative anymore. So,
well, they don't.
So you can just bring up the fact that if you burned anything else in public other than a flag, which maybe Trump should have put that in there as well, and this includes any item because it's already illegal. This is kind of redundant. I'm saying specifically to incite a riot in public. You can't walk down a street and burn a blank flag. You would get arrested or cited at the very least. So it's just the whole argument is just insane in a way because it overlooks the fact that this is already an illegal act, a flag or not.
What I'm saying is you take the power away from it. So, like, when people were getting arrested for burning pride flags, do you remember that?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other...
That was a thing that happened.
Valid. That's anarcho-tyranny. There we go.
So... So that was a crime, but burning the flag of America wasn't. There's a disconnect there.
That is the flag of the left wing
of the
side
nation.
of America.
Yeah,
we've been colonized.
Well, my main argument, real quick, about the flag burning is there's a self-referential incoherence. So when you are burning the thing that represents the symbol that represents the thing that gives you that right in the first place, that's a self-referential incoherence. And so I think that, and I would appeal to Kantian ethics on this. So Immanuel Kant tried to create an ethical system using reason, and instead of divine command theory or social contract or utilitarianism, his ethical system is the categorical imperative. And essentially what it says is, whatever you choose to do, universalize that decision and look for a contradiction. So for example, abortion. If you were to universalize your decision to get an abortion, if you universalize that decision and then everyone got an abortion, you would have an inherent contradiction of there would be no life in the world. And so that's his way of coming up with a system of right and wrong. I'm not necessarily an ardent categorical imperative proponent, but it does make sense in this way. So if you, it's a way of looking at the act itself and then looking for a contradiction inside of that act. And so I think that, yes, there needs to be exceptions to the rule. Exceptions prove the rule. And in my opinion, this is one of those exceptions. when it comes to burning the flag. Yeah, we need freedom of expression. We need, or not even freedom of expression. We need freedom of the press. We need freedom of speech. We need the ability to criticize the government and stuff like that. But burning the flag itself, I think, is a self-referentially incoherent moral act, and I'm against it. And so I'm for Trump's executive order.
Well, again, for the record, I'm against it as well. But it to me, it's funny. I wanted to make this comparison because I want to see what your guys' take on it. But the most frequent thing I see when I'm around a college is people wearing Che Guevara shirts, even though he was an avowed racist. He hated Mexicans. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but it makes sense.
Because they had bred with the Spanish, so they weren't pure blood. He hated black people. He hated gays. And the best part of that story is he was shot in the back of the head and thrown into a hole, and nobody knows where he is. I think they got his hands back.
But his memory lives on.
Yeah, in the minds of people who have no idea anything about him, which is...
But it's a cool shirt, man. I like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Rage for the Machine. Harvard-educated Tom Morello telling you about how you should live your life.
Yeah, the NPR Redditor Rebel is like the worst NPC I can imagine. Just the total, I'm so rebellious, man. I'm not controlled at all.
Yeah, that's where a lot of those atheists come from, too. Yeah, those Redditeer atheists.
That is, let's be honest, that is atheism.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Is being a fake rebel.
Yeah. LARPing the rebellion.
I don't believe, and I'm so obnoxious with my lack of belief that I have to spend all of my time telling you that I don't believe. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Such is life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's get back to that flag burning there for one more second. Another thing I wanted to say is I'm frustrated about, I think it's like the liberals tricked everybody into this like crazy free, like extreme version of free speech. I don't think that the founders would have accepted it. I don't think that the founders would have accepted free speech for atheists or Nazis or communists and stuff like that. I really don't think, if we were to have a conversation with them today, I really don't think so. I think a lot of people would be pretty surprised at how they understood that there's limitations. But another aspect, though, is that the Supreme Court ruled in a 5-4 decision with Scalia that it was a freedom of expression and that burning the flag was actually protected. I mean, it wasn't a 9-0 decision, and it was mostly liberals, and Scalia, for whatever reason, even though he's a hero on the conservative right, he ended up ruling with them on that one. But it's like, okay, 200 years later, we're going to get this 5-4 ruling. And then now everybody's just like, nope, it's a symbol. Actually, it's a blessing of liberty to burn the American flag. I don't know. I don't buy it.
Well, I mean, it's also free speech to have a satanic, thing at the Capitol.
Yeah.
That's free speech.
Agreed. And I think, so here's my thought on it. Do you guys remember, I think it was last year, the Satanists were going around putting up their silly nonsense, and someone got arrested and went to, I want to say he might have gotten prison time out of destroying it.
Yeah.
I would say rather than destroy it, he should have defaced it. Made it look ridiculous. Because when you make these things, these idols that these knuckleheads have, when you make them look ridiculous, you take away their power. When you make a show of destroying it and it takes away your freedom, you're actually giving it power. So he should have taped like a big old floppy dong on it or something. Going in its mouth.
Big green dildo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a question of strategy, I guess, right?
because you have to expose the ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to beat them at their own game. They work up people. You guys familiar with Larry Flint and his Supreme Court case?
Yeah, was he the hustler guy?
That he had printed a fake ad that Jerry Falwell lost his virginity to his mother in an outhouse. The Reverend Jerry Falwell. And that went to the Supreme Court, and they said it's clearly nobody would believe it's true. And that's how he won his Supreme Court case, because it was so ridiculous. But they actually became friends. It's neither here nor there. If you allow reverence for these things, that's how they get power. You have to call it out. You have to mock it. That's what they do. That's what atheists and leftists and agnostics and all these knuckleheads, that's how they do it. They, in films and TV, oh, look at all these priests. Look what they're doing. Don't look at the teachers that you're seeing every day that are doing it to our children. Don't look at them. Look at the priests.
Yeah.
Well, I think, allowing these things like the burning of the flag or the satanic, thing at the Capitol, you could allow it on paper, but to really fight against it, it would have to be, you have to have such a cultural consensus of this is abhorrent. Everyone knows this is wrong. And if you do this, it's not going to benefit you in any way. And it's going to be taken away immediately because collectively we don't agree with this. That has to come culturally where it's like, okay, and I have hope that it'll get to this point where the dorks that are prancing around satanic and having their, their furry conventions and all their other weird things that they do, at some point it's going to be like that the social contagion of all this woke, insane, satanic stuff is going to fade away into the background. And, assuming that we don't continue to allow people that don't share our culture and beliefs into our country, it'll go away organically, because the alternative is what would be termed fascist. So, do you go down that road? I don't. I would prefer to do it organically through the culture, and I think that's the most sustainable solution to any of these problems. Is it has to come from the collective shared values and beliefs that that's not socially acceptable. We're not going to do that.
Well, there's that cliche saying of politics is downstream from culture. But I think that it's also true in the reverse, that culture is downstream from politics. And also I think that culture is downstream from power. And so I think that really what it comes down to is just getting real about power itself. And we've talked about so many times, the power is going to exist. And so good people should control it, So, but I believe in like a multi-pronged approach. I think, Steve, your idea about like making it look ridiculous and making it absurd is good. But I also love the idea of like Trump passing executive orders and hopefully codifying through Congress certain laws that outlaw, I don't know, transgenderism or whatever. And then, shaping the culture and attacking it in that way is good too. And I think the conservatives are winning in that way, or just the sane people are winning, because all the good music is on the right leaning or sane side. All the good comedy is on the sane side. Even movies and stuff, like things like Taylor Sheridan's, 1923 or 1883. He's coming out with 1944. There's a new show that I wanted to mention that just came out today. It's a Terminal List, Dark Wolf, which is a spin-off from the Terminal List, from starring Chris Pratt, and written based on the books written by Jack Carr, who's a Navy SEAL and an American patriot. So I think that a multi-pronged type of approach, and so sometimes I get worried that conservatives will get brainwashed by this whole politics is downstream from culture, and not realizing that it is okay to pass laws and stuff like that too, and not necessarily fight in the arena of culture where we're generally outmatched. So I just want to encourage everybody to do all of that, and find what your strength is. Like, for example, Silas's strength is making music, and just continue making music because that's his best way of actually, fighting the battle or whatever. And so having some sort of multifaceted, multi-pronged attack approach is really important.
I was gonna say, I think I've came up with an approach through conversation that's worth sharing. It kind of touches on all of your guys' suggestions. So it's kind of like all focused on identity with everyone, whether they're on the left or right. And you can, I think, lead a conversation to, like what Steve was saying, kind of make fun of our surface identities and how it changes through the years and what we used to believe and all that type of stuff. And then, lead the conversation to the core identity of being a human and what that means, and to feel love and all that type of stuff, so that you have the common ground of agreeance of, yes, we're human. We go through that type of those situations and those metaphysics. And then I think you could from there start to lead, like, just get it out of politics and identity politics in general, regardless of if you're talking to someone on the left or right. And like Detox was saying, that could potentially open them up to the divine intervention once they're like aware of that surface identity and how silly it can be throughout our lives, and as we change and learn and go through experiences that forces us to like realize the next level of our surface identity. But I think it could be an approach through just conversation that could, break down the barriers and keep a common ground going.
Yeah. And part of that is just being good at conversating with people. A part of that is being able to articulate your ideas properly.
Mm-hmm.
A part of that is like a lot of times, like therapists or will say, like, meeting someone where they are, type of thing. Just like being aware and mindful of where they are at in their human journey, and finding a way to relate to them, like you were saying. Another thing is maybe just being a pebble in the shoe. Like maybe you just say one thing that gets
Mm-hmm.
them to think or whatever. Another thing that I think that conservatives really need to work on is being charming, being persuasive. And a part of being persuasive is being charming. And another thing that you mentioned too, Silas, and also Steve, is just making it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because funny is fun. And I think a lot of the people are just burnt out. I know there's a lot of sane liberals that are probably not liberals anymore, or not Democrats at least. Maybe they're liberals. They're just tired of it. Just tired of just being outraged all the time. And it's like, okay to just have fun. So I think being charming, being funny, being persuasive, being, knowing how to articulate your ideas, all of that stuff is super duper important to essentially saving the republic.
Yep.
On that note,
we are saving the republic with Cock of the Week.
Yep, we got to work on the jingle. Huh?
I gotta get that AI thing rolling at some point. It's just the easiest way.
It's the cock of the week.
All right, who wants to go first? We might have. I feel like we could have a double.
I have a backup, but I don't think anybody's got mine. I
Okay.
think mine's going to be original. I'll go
I
first,
know
or...
nobody else has mine.
All right, well, that's good to hear.
Mine's a video of myself, so no one has mine.
Oh, snap.
Well,
I
that's
had
the same
thing.
Shit. Who wants to go first?
I'll jump on the sword. I just need a second to set this up. This is a celebrity. The guy who's wearing the I Stand with Canada, Palestine, all that shirt is Stuttering John Melendez from the Howard Stern Show. The guy to him,
yeah.
The guy next to him is Richard Ojeda. Has run several failed political campaigns, and the other guy is Brian Karam, if you're familiar with him. And if you are, I'm sorry, because he's a dink.
I see your screen share down here. Should I toggle it on? And
yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to let everybody know.
Is this it?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and
go full screen on that.
Yeah, I gotta play it. My bad. Come on.
Hold on. This guy wants me to answer a question. Everybody knows fascism is a far-right, ultra-nationalist, and authoritarian political ideology that prioritizes the nation above all else, often expressed through a cult of personality around a powerful leader, even though he's weak, strident nationalism, cult of militarism, suppression of opposition, and a rejection of democratic liberties and individual rights. Everybody knows that. Why are you asking me such a stupid question? Thank you.
Oh my god, dude, you are a dumb fuck.
God, dude, that is so painful.
Everybody knows it. I've been having this argument all day with people. They keep trying to label this guy as a Nazi, the mass shooter or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's a Nazi. He's just like you guys. He's a leftist. And everybody's just exploding out of their mind because they're like, why would I even entertain the idea? Everyone knows this. It's axiomatic that the Nazis were far right. Ugh.
So, yeah, when he actually read that, the Wikipedia thing wasn't there. They added it because he was reading it. But this is the brain rot that we have, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it looks like he's got some. The other guys look kind of like some patriotic dudes. Is that from a podcast or what's that from?
That's from the Stuttering John show. His Politics Plus.
Okay.
He knows nothing about politics. He's wet-brained.
Smooth, wet brain, huh?
and he brings on Democrats and they talk and he reads the chat and says, "Oh, Donald Trump's an idiot."
Wow.
It's actually funny but there's a rabbit hole there.
I will fall on the next sword here.
All right, take it over.
You move up in the polls! Yeah! This is how you move up in the polls! Yeah! Yeah! Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Yeah! Let me get one more. Let me get three. Let me get three. Let me get three. Yeah!
You couldn't even do three.
Yeah, you move up in the polls. Yeah.
That's how you move up in the polls.
Yeah, that's gonna help.
Oh, jeez. Well,
Mayor of New York, Cucky.
I don't know, man. He seems pretty alpha male to me.
So, controversial hot take. I kind of hope he wins and immediately oversteps his mayoral powers and gets arrested because everything he's talking about is illegal. Taking money from white people because of their race is extremely illegal, and he's campaigning.
Well, we should just use the Civil Rights Act in reverse.
Yes. Yes.
Or just in general. As long as it exists, we should do that.
Okay. All right. I'm going.
Oh boy.
My name is Katie Von Sparkle, aka Christopher. My pronouns are he, she, and they. Please join me responsibly in a call to worship. Source of life in the beginning made us and called us beloved. When we forget how to love, you remind us to do it. When the powers of the world try to oppress us, your name is When our siblings in faith condemn us, claim us beloved, we are your beloved. So today, sing your praises, source of love.
What Bible verse is that?
Wow.
You know what? Mine had a little bit of a meta cuck of the week aspect to it. The cucks are actually just the people, the leadership at the church. What?
And the people not walking out of this sermon.
Yeah.
This has to be like Episcopalian or something.
Yeah, good question. What do you know the church?
Let's see here. It says on here, my name is Candy Von Sparkle. This was said from the pulpit at Allendale United Methodist Church in Florida.
I went to a United Methodist church as a kid, and
Really?
it wasn't that gay.
It was very gay, molesty too, but not that gay.
You know, it was granted it was the 90s. We weren't bringing drag queens into churches yet, so it was pretty mild. It was liberal, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing that now. That is unreal.
All right, mine's decent, but I don't think I'm going to win it this time. We'll see.
Hey, awkward turtle.
There you go.
Look, 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 look.
So what is it? They couldn't do like the Baby Yoda latte art, so I just had to get you an empty cup.
Oh, thank you. Tell me everything.
So I actually wanted to meet up because I thought I kind of wanted to talk to you about something.
Yeah, what's up?
This is kind of hard to say, but the last couple months have been amazing.
Best months of my life.
Said no one
Best
ever. But I
finally feeling like myself around someone.
And I'm happy about it.
Oh god.
I am.
Opa, finally myself style.
Is that Gangnam Style?
Yeah, that was Gangnam Style.
Right. Haven't seen that one. I think that maybe it's possible that we are better suited.
Possible. Mission impossible. Your mission is to marry this girl. 3, 2, 1. You gotta escape the lasers. Oh, and here's my ring. Will you marry me?
That's the thing, is I think maybe we're better as friends. That's the Friends theme song.
Yeah. Has no one told you that you are breaking my heart currently? What are you saying? Wait, was that some made up bullshit that you just said, or was it real?
Well,
Made up BS, right?
No, it was real. Nay, I'm thinking that maybe we should break up.
Where's Ashton Kutcher? Because as far as I'm concerned, I am getting punked.
You're not punked. You're not getting.
There are hidden cameras right here.
Nathan.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm definitely stealing that that proposal idea. No, the awkward turtle really cracked me.
Yeah.
Awkward turtle.
I'm gonna definitely give my vote there to Tyler.
Yeah, that's my vote as well.
I was gonna vote for yours, Adrian, so I appreciate it.
Steve?
I'll have to go Tyler as well.
Yeah, that's
I got one. Okay, so can we just all agree to ban transgenderism at the federal level? Okay.
Can't compete with a troon.
Oh, we got a problem in this country, folks, and it's a troon problem. I'll take it. I don't win that often, so I'm celebrating tonight.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good cut.
Well, who wants to play us out? Final thoughts, Adrian. Go.
What a world. What a country, what a society. But we're still here. And we're going to keep being here. I'm not as good at this as you are, Tyler, but I am trying. We got a spot there. We're gonna fight the anarcho tyranny.
In a world filled with anarcho tyranny, the post-republic lives on.
Until next time, everyone. Keep fighting.